our State House studio in Montgomery. I'm Todd Stacy. Welcome to Capitol Journal. The subject of gambling dominated the Alabama Senate today as lawmakers debated the issue for more than 8 hours on the Senate floor. The package under consideration contains two bills. One, a constitutional amendment that, if passed, would go before voters in a referendum, and the other, enabling legislation that contains the details of the plan. What the Senate took up today is very different than the comprehensive gambling package passed by the House 3 weeks ago. Here are the key differences. First of all, there is no sports betting component. Whereas the House version would have legalized and taxed sports betting, that's out of this version. Also, no Class 3 gambling. The House version would have authorized table games for up to 10 casinos, but that's out in this version. And current casinos that run gambling machines based on bingo would be required now to run them on pari-mutuel dog and horse racing games. Revenue is also different in the Senate plan. It would generate an estimated $350 million, down from the almost $1 billion from the House plan. An amendment added today would see those dollars split into three buckets: education, general fund, and infrastructure. Some similarities to the House plan. It would institute a state lottery. It also calls for a compact with the Porch Band of Creek Indians, which operates 3 casinos statewide. And the plan sets up a gambling commission, including an enforcement arm. Senators debated multiple amendments on the floor today, some cordial and some contentious. When it came to that amendment adjusting where revenue goes, Senator Greg Albritton, who was carrying the bill, took issue with the move. He said the general fund has the greater need right now, including meeting the financial obligations of building a new state prison in Escambia County.
I'm going to move for final passage using the long
Mr. President,
All right,
may I?
yes, you're recognized.
I'm a little bit bumfuzzled, so if I got the rules a little bit confused, can I start my first hour? Okay? Can I start in this discussion? Senator, you can go take a rest now. I'm going to have my microphone here. I'm going to be heard on this matter. I am not going to be run over on this. Apologize. Let me get control. Every senator in here, every senator has a right to come forward and discuss and to make votes on and present bills for that will affect and influence their district. This bill does this. This amendment that this body has added, I think was added inappropriately, without due consideration, and without understanding about what it does to my district. The main thing we need is more resources in the general fund. We still got mental health going on. We have roads and bridges, of course, still. We've got matters, of course, with DOC and hiring problems, a host of other issues.
Things calmed down a bit, but there was still a long day of debate on the Senate floor. Eventually, the Senate passed the plan on votes of 22 to 11. So where does it go from here? The bills go back to the House, which had adjourned by the time the Senate was finished. They can either concur with the Senate changes, which would mean final passage, or vote to non-concur and go to a conference committee with delegates from each chamber. State Senator Bobby Singleton said he hopes to get another shot at a more expansive package later in a conference committee.
Hopefully the House will look at non-concur, we'll go to conference, and I think that the conference is where we'll be able to get a product out that will satisfy both houses.
What's that product look like?
I have no idea right now, but there was a lot of amendments put on this bill today. We'll get through and shake it out, compare it to what the House has. We get these committees set, and we'll sit there like men and women and work it out. They will have something here in the state of Alabama that we could, be able to offer in the state lottery. So I feel good about what we are. I really do. I feel real good about what we are, that we'll work with the House and come up with something that everybody would like.
And the House bill was a more comprehensive plan. It covered everything that we needed. It brought in, but the unpopular part of that was the point that it had Class 3 casino matters there. That was the unpopular part, and it went deteriorated from there. And with this bill, we didn't get complete control. We got some control, and that's a beginning. At least now, assuming we can get this passed by the people and through the House, we'll be able to have a change in Alabama law so that we can grab control of this industry. Maybe only partial, but the important part that we have right now.
In the House, contentious issues were taken up on the floor. We'll start with absentee voting and legislation seeking to stop what Republicans characterize as ballot harvesting. Senate Bill 1 from Senator Garland Gudger would make it a crime to handle a non-family member's ballot application. Democrats fiercely oppose the measure, arguing it would make it more difficult for elderly and disabled voters to cast ballots. Republicans say it's about preventing abuse.
A couple of questions that I have on the bill that I have. If you go to line 65, where it states that any family member to the second degree of kinship, including but not limited to an aunt, uncle, grandparent, grandchild, niece, nephew, parent, full sibling, half sibling, or child. So what if this is a person that does not have family where they're living? And because I'm asking this because I adopt people all the time that's not originally from Alabama or Birmingham, and it's just them. And what if they get hurt, become disabled, then what?
You're looking at an old version of the bill.
Okay, so that's why I asked you the difference. So I also said that if there's a difference in what I have with the sub, then I need to know that as well.
That was the original Senate introduced bill, but it's not the engrossed bill that came out of the Senate.
Okay, so
the sub that we're dealing with now is what was changed in our House committee.
Okay, so is it not stating the same thing?
No.
So what is it stating now?
Well, it's a complete different sub. I can let you see mine, or somebody can get you a copy.
Because where it's saying in this one that any family member to the second degree is not.
No,
so what was it replaced with?
The sub only replaced the ability to pre-fill the application. You can't pre-fill the application.
Okay,
that's all
so
it
you're
did.
saying that that's not in there. Okay.
That bill passed along party lines and now goes to the governor. Another contentious issue, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. Senate Bill 129 from Senator Will Barfoot would prohibit certain public entities, including K-12 schools and universities, from housing a DEI office or program. It would also prohibit the teaching or promotion of what's termed divisive concepts related to race or gender. Republicans argue that such DEI programs have led to colleges in other states promoting a woke ideology. Democrats push back aggressively, saying diversity, equity, and inclusion training is needed, not just in college, but in other institutions, including the legislature.
This bill would prohibit certain public entities, including state agencies, local boards of education, public institutions of higher education, from maintaining a diversity, equity, and inclusion office or department, or sponsoring any diversity, equity, or inclusion program or program that advocates for a divisive concept. This bill will prohibit certain public entities from promoting, endorsing, or requiring affirmation of or certain divisive concepts relating to race, sex, or religion. This bill will prohibit certain public entities from conditioning enrollment or attendance in certain classes or trainings on the basis of race or color. This bill would authorize certain public entities to discipline or terminate employees or contractors who violate this act. This bill would provide that certain circumstances relating to accreditation, academic instruction, student groups, and other scenarios are not prohibited. This bill would also require each public institution of higher education to ensure that multiple occupancy restrooms are designated for use based on biological sex.
I'm concerned anytime we're bringing a bill that deals with diversity, equity, and inclusion, because what you're basically telling people is that you don't want any concepts deployed in state government that deals with equity, that deals with race, that deals with sex, because you do not believe, A, in an affirmative action program or the existence in actions that are taken affirmatively for the advancement of people of color or that do not necessarily look like you. And that's not right.
That bill was amended on the floor and passed and will now go back to the Senate. Governor Kay Ivey held a signing ceremony today for what she calls her top legislative priority, school choice legislation. House Bill 129 from State Representative Danny Garrett is known as the CHOOSE Act. It will allow parents as much as $7,000 a year in tax credits to go towards sending their child to a private school. $2,000 in credits is available to homeschool parents. The bill was amended to put financial guardrails aimed to make sure it doesn't cost the Education Trust Fund. Governor Ivey said the plan will allow parents more say over their children's education.
Y'all, we did it. We did it. President Pro Tem Reed, Speaker Ledbetter, Chairman Orr, and Chairman Garrett, thank you for your leadership in getting the CHOOSE Act passed. Today is a historic day as we officially sign our Education Savings Account Bill, the CHOOSE Act, into law. Alabama is the only 14th state in the nation to provide families with an education savings account option. Our plan will not only work for Alabama families, it will work for our state and will be effective and sustainable for generations to come. With the CHOOSE Act, Alabama will now be a leader when it comes to school choice. And I'm hopeful this will make a difference in Alabama families. Let me also be clear that my commitment to public education remains unrelenting. At the end of the day, we all want every Alabama student, no matter the zip code, to receive a quality education. Strong students will lead to a strong Alabama, and a strong Alabama is our goal.
Coming up after the break, I'll sit down with State Representative Chip Brown. He's sponsoring legislation aimed at offering better health care options for veterans. We'll be right back.
You can watch past episodes of Capital Journal online at video.aptv.org. Capital Journal episodes are also available on APTV's free mobile app. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page. And you can listen to past episodes of Capital Journal when you're driving or on the go with Capital Journal podcasts.
Welcome back to Capital Journal. Joining me next is State Representative Chip Brown from Hollinger's Island. Representative, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you, Todd. It's great to be with you.
It's been a long week in the House of Representatives, the whole legislature.
Wow, it seems longer than a week. It seems like I've been here, quite a long time.
Yeah.
Today was just was a monumental long day in itself. So.
Absolutely. I know you had some legislation on the agenda, but I wanted to start with this Veterans Health Care bill. You're partnering with Senator Andrew Jones on legislation. Your bill is House Bill 197, having to do with an integrated veterans health care system. Explain what this does.
Well, what it does is, in Alabama, we have 400,000 veterans, and that constitutes about 9% of the population of our state. But yet, veterans make up about 20% of all suicides. And it's something that we have seen is that they're just not getting the proper care. I mean, veterans are a unique entity. I'm proud to be a veteran. I'm proud to have served my country. And when you talk to a veteran particularly that's been overseas, that's seen combat, let's say, it's a unique situation, and they need people that can work with them to help them get back on their feet and that understands them, that other veterans or first responders that understand what they're going through. And in Alabama, in my opinion, we have a tradition where we've really shortchanged our veterans, unfortunately, when it comes to mental health and to substance abuse care. And that's what this is aimed at. Senator Jones and I have partnered together he's carrying a bill in the Senate and I have a bill in the House to hopefully address this situation. And what it does, it sets up really for the first time a true mental health and drug and alcohol program that will be focused on veterans exclusively. And the focus on that would be facilities in our larger areas, and then also we already have facilities in our rural areas through the veteran service organizations and through the state VA, where they have the VA offices there. And this is unique from the federal side in that the federal care in itself has been largely lacking. You wait sometimes months for an appointment. And when you're talking about mental health or drug and alcohol issues, you don't have months to wait. Sometimes you have hours. And so this is just an effort to try to get us to focus on veterans and try to get the appropriate care for our veterans.
Mm-hmm. Well, just thinking about nuts and bolts, I mean, is this physical locations? Does it involve funding, and if so, how much?
Well, a lot of the funding is actually already there. It's through block grants, through opioid settlement funds. It's through monies that are already being appropriated to the state, as well as veterans are very unique in that much of their care is reimbursable by the federal government. So so these state agencies that do veterans care, they can file with the federal government and get reimbursed. And so a lot of that is already there. And so this is an effort to try to get us to move in the direction of being able to focus on veterans care, and who better to do it than through the state VA, because that's what they do, is take care of our veterans.
Mm-hmm. I remember this issue being a main focus years ago when I worked in Congress, and it was, every day complaint about sometimes it's benefits, but a lot of times it was health care, and you had veterans coming back from places like Iraq, places like Afghanistan, and it was really acute. So is this partly a reflection of some of those national VA shortcomings, that a bloated bureaucracy that doesn't always effectively work?
That's right. A lot of times you have to ask, where does the money go? There are programs that are designed for veterans, but are they really getting the care that they need? Are they getting? And I like to think of it as focused care. That's what we're trying to achieve. What we're striving for is getting veterans the health care that they need. And what we're looking to do is not general care. We're looking to specifically do mental health and drug and alcohol care, because those are the most vulnerable. Those are the members of our society that really were failing. And we've had a focus the last several years in Alabama. I know Speaker Ledbetter last year led a charge on mental health and getting more funds appropriated for mental health. And I think of this as part of that effort. We're starting to finally look at mental health as being the root of many of societal problems that we have: crime, broken marriages, those sorts of things. And to break that down even further, you look at that 9%, those 400,000. How many of my fellow veterans have had issues coming back from situations where they're not really understood when they get back here? And those are the people that I think we've allowed to slip through the cracks of our society. And it's unfortunate, because we as elected officials, I think our job is to do our best to try to take care of those people that are the most vulnerable in our society. And who better than veterans who some we were all, veterans were prepared to give all and put their life on the line many times. And we've got to, in my opinion, we've got to look out for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're at the halfway point of session. Got a spring break coming up. Is this, talking with your colleagues, is this going to have the kind of support it needs to get across the finish line?
That's the plan. It has a lot of support in the House. All of my co-sponsors were fellow veterans, and so they understand that the need for this. There's 105 of us in the House, and we all hear the same stories over and over from veterans in our communities that have trouble and are having problems and can't get adequate mental health and drug and alcohol care. And so when we come back from the break, there will be a big push to get this done and get across the finish line in time.
Well, we'll certainly be watching that. While I've got you, I also wanted to ask about your port bill. This passed on the House floor today, dealing with, I guess, incorporation and things like that. I mean, we had the port director on the show the other day. Lots going on down there with the dredging and everything. So what does this bill actually do?
Well, let me just say, too, John Driscoll, the director of the Port Authority, has done an amazing job. I mean,
he's impressive.
He is a big picture guy, and he doesn't want Alabama just to be a regional leader. He wants us to be a global leader, and he understands that all runs through the port. The port, in my opinion, is the lifeline of this great state of ours, because all of our goods go down to the port or come in through the port. And what this bill did today was it allows the certain employees to essentially leave the merit system, and that way they can have a broader field to pick from.
Okay, so when they're recruiting employees at the port, they have a little more flexibility in terms of they can go recruit the best.
Right, exactly. And the port is a unique entity in that it is a government entity, but in essence it's almost like a private entity, because they are competing on a daily basis against ports and private enterprise, not just in the United States but globally. And so they have to be able to go out and get the best talent, not just locally or in the U.S., but actually globally. It's a very, very specified and very specific fields that they have. And I mean, you've got to go out and find people that understand issues like coal and cargo and global logistics and those sorts of things that are highly skilled, highly professional people. And so we have to be competitive, and this bill will allow the Port Authority the flexibility to do that.
And so, yeah, I mean, state agencies have rules, sometimes pretty strict rules.
Right.
But the port, as you just described, isn't like DHR or DOT or more traditional state agencies. They have a global reach, and so again, do you think this is going to have the support that it needs to get across the finish line and become policy?
I do. It passed unanimously in the House today, and so that bodes well for it in the Senate. I can't say enough about Governor Ainsworth has been a big supporter of the port, and so I would expect in the Senate that it would hopefully move very quickly.
Yeah. Now, it's been fascinating learning more about the port, and Senator Shelby's legacy project of getting that dredging done. I mean, and Mr. Driscoll told me the other day, you're looking at 2025. That used to be just so far in the future, but it's coming now. And I think it's interesting that everybody is preparing, trying to get everything ready, knowing that capacity is about to really explode.
Well, we're already seeing it in the Mobile area, where right now, today, we have a shortage of over 1 million square foot of warehouse space. So on top of the warehouse space that we already have, we're short 1 million square feet of that. And so the estimate is over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to be short another 3 to 5 million square feet of of warehouse space. I'm sorry. And so that tells me that growth is coming. It is already here. I have 2 in my district, which is just south of Mobile. I have 2 big warehouse parks that have come up right off of the interstate, and more are planned. I had 2 days ago, I had a company from California reach out to me that just found me through the House website and said, we want to come to your district. We're excited about what you have going on, and this is how we can be reached. He was a CEO of a company in California, interested in moving to the Mobile area, and I'm excited about things. But once the dredging is done, we'll be able to take the largest ships in the world, the post-Panamax ships, and we will jump ahead of so many other ports because of the moves that the legislature took in 2019 and because of Senator Shelby.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, intermodal facility here in Montgomery, they're working on one in Decatur, talking about that capacity and everything, and getting containers off the road. Well, we're out of time, but thanks for coming on the show and explaining some of these issues to us.
Thank you, Todd. It's great to be with you.
And safe travels back to Hollinger's Island.
I'll do it.
We'll be right back.
You can watch past episodes of Capital Journal online anytime at Alabama Public Television's website, aptv.org. Click on the Online Video tab on the main page. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page.
Founded in December 1916, the Alabama Dry Dock and Shipbuilding Company, or ADDSCO, was an important component of the maritime industry of Mobile for much of the 20th century, helping to transform Mobile into a shipping and shipbuilding center for the Gulf Coast. At its peak, during World Wars I and II, the company built and maintained U.S. Navy ships at the company's 2 large dry docks on Pinto Island, just north of downtown.
That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night for our Week in Review episode at 7:30 right here on Alabama Public Television. For our Capital Journal team, I'm Todd Stacy. We'll see you next time.